Hey, all you action figure enthusiasts out there, JC here, and welcome to a Friday edition of TNI News Live. We've got a lot to cover today. Quite a bit of stuff yesterday revealed during the Brazilian convention, Hasbro and some McFarlane stuff. I won't say a lot, but being it's been slow fairly, in the last several weeks, more reveals than we've gotten in a while. So let's do a quick roll call, see who's in the house, and then we'll jump into the news. We've got Austin in the house. Happy Friday to you, my friend. We've got Zim. Good to see you. Uh, I need all the news, or you came to the right place. Alonzo's in the house. What is up? We need news for sure. Sounds like some of you guys have been in news deprived. Cobra Commander made me buy 2 Arctic Hiss tanks. I am weak, Zim says. I have not made a decision on whether I'm going to back, or not back, but to pre-order the made to pre-order Arctic Hiss tank, which we'll talk about because that went up yesterday. Um, but I have not made up a final decision on that. I'm tempted, but I'm also constrained by space. I don't really know where I would put it. I also feel like my regular Hiss tank kind of is sufficient even to go up against like the Snowcat, which I did back the HasLab Snowcat, but I don't know. How's it? Or let's see, how's it going? Pahala 808, good to see you, my friend. Anthony Morris is in the house. Hey Jay, sorry for your loss. My condolences to you and your family. Thank you very much. It's been a minute since I last saw you. Yeah, I hopped on right before Thanksgiving. Um, yeah, my dad had passed away last month, so but I was back right before Thanksgiving, and then just really hasn't been much news until just the last day or so that I felt like there was enough news to really kind of fill a news video. So, um, and we will probably, as we head into the holidays, Christmas and everything at the end of the month, Hanukkah and all that, news probably will stay fairly light this month, though. Like Hasbro should be doing another fan stream, Marvel Legend fan stream before the end of the year. So probably within the next couple of weeks, we will get more Marvel Legend reveals and stuff. So definitely should be some news in the coming days beyond what we have to talk about today. Williams in the house. Good to see you, my friend. And I missed all you guys, man. I do these live streams more just to kind of chat with you guys than anything. Turtle Dave, what is up? Looking forward to hearing about some of the toy news today from the best. That's you. Thank you very much. Figure Fury, good to see you, my friend. Jordan, see, happy holidays, JC, and all. Thanks for the toy news. No problem. William, good to see you, my friend. John from Ireland, good to see you, my friend. Quinn's Comics is in the house. Good to see you. Hope you having a terrific day. Elio is in the house. What is up? Road Pig John. Always good to see the familiar faces or names, I should say. I don't really see your faces, but your names. Hanzo, what is up? Turtle Dave, I missed the old opening theme music. I was humming it in my head while I was waiting for the stream to start. Well, I've had a few, but yeah, the one that I used the last 2 times, it's just been easy. Like I have to like gather up a bunch of images and stuff to put together for the longer intros. So it was really more of a timing thing, but definitely we'll probably get back to that. Of course, you might be talking about like an even older one. I don't know. Mr. Allmine, good to see you, my friend. Uh, Retro is in the house. What is up? Another Jay in the house. What is up? Thank you. Thank you again, everybody who's sent condolences and everything. Much appreciated. Best Figure Collector, what is up with you? Lucky Guy, good to see you. Cartoon and Cannabis, what is up? Hi, Jay. I don't know if that's a pun or not. Let's see, Jordan, have you played Marvel Comics Invasion? I'm obsessed. Throwback to 90. I have not. I've seen it. I've seen like the trailers. I've seen ads pop up for it, but I have not had a chance to play it. But it looks pretty good. Um, so I may definitely check that out in the fairly near future. And Mass Figure Collector, hope you and the family are well. Thank you, thank you. All right, so yeah, let's jump into the news. Let's flip cameras over. It's always easier to go with this one and pull up the screen here. All right, so we'll start with this just breaking news, literally. New Fraggle Rock figures from Boss Fight Studios that have gone up for pre-order. So this is their third series of these. If you into the old classic Fraggle Rock, I think was on HBO if I'm not mistaken back in the day. Um, but with this, you're getting Mookie and Gobo, the Cavern of Lost Dreams. So again, if you're into Fraggle Rock, Jim Henson's Fraggle Rock, you know, these are ones that you're probably going to want to check out. Again, available at Big Bad Toy Store, or at least they were supposed to be available. I don't see them actually up quite yet, but look for them probably within the next hour. Entertainment Earth will probably have them as well. I don't know. Let's see. What do we got here? So Entertainment Earth has Fraggle Rock Red basic action figure. I don't. Oh, here they are. So, the Wave 3 figures, and then also looks like they have, I guess, deluxe versions. Well, there's the deluxe versions of Gobo and Mookie. Then it looks like there's a basic version that's $20, and then also, Fraggle Rock Red Basic. So, and like I say, Big Bad Toy Store does not yet have them up, but should probably have them up very soon. Here we go. So we have the basic series one. Okay, so I see what's going on. We have the deluxe figures, which is what had been Boss Fight had been doing with the two, but then it looks like they're also launching a less expensive version of basic figures, with the first series including Gobo, Red, and Boober in Wembley. So 4 figures. Only saw the 2 up at Entertainment Earth, but like I said, this is literally just going live in the last couple of minutes. So e-tailers may not have quite everything up. For you Masters of the Universe fans, nothing. Well, that's not entirely true. So we've had a bunch of pre-orders in the last couple of days. So those Masterverse figures with the new Eternia Dragster, Keldor, and Adora, they've gone up for pre-order. You can get them at Amazon. I don't think they've sold out. So available Amazon. Amazon was the first one to put them up this morning, but other e-tailers like Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth have also put those up. We also have another round of 2000X figures, cartoon collection figures from Mattel that have gone up for pre-order. So this includes Mossman, Evelyn and Man at Arms. Also the not part of 2000X, but just regular Origins. Milena, Queen Milena. That has also gone up for pre-order. Entertainment Earth, Big Bad Toy Store, Amazon. The Deluxe Ram Man is also, at least was available on Amazon. So, and I think that was it for pre-orders today. If you're into the Thundercats, we talked about these, but the repaint wave with Panther Man, which is a repaint of the Battle Cat figure, that is available on Amazon. Going up on December 9th on Mattel Creations website is the Masters of the Universe Origins Dragstore figure. So we've got the Masterverse version that you can get everywhere, but for Origins, it'll be a Mattel Creations exclusive, again, going up on the 9th. I like the Masterverse version. Um, I I don't even remember, honestly. I don't even remember Dragstore from the original line, but I just think he's kind of a cool looking character. The Adora figure here, the Horde Commander Adora. I like the fact that you can either have her in the Horde Commander outfit or you can have her looking more like her traditional Adora self. She-Ra's alter ego. I'm not sold on these face sculpts though. I like the one with the hair down better than the one with the hair pulled back, but honestly, both of those face sculpts are not the greatest. So that one, I ended up pre-ordering all three of these, but I definitely, like I say, I like the hair down version head sculpt better than the one with the hair pulled back. And obviously you can have her wear the Horde mask if you want to. And then again, I just think Dragster is kind of a unique, cool looking character. So, and then the new Eternia version of Keldor. But I don't know if I like the white shirt, but otherwise I think it's a solid looking figure. And I do like the head sculpts on this one. Both head sculpts, the regular and then the acid burned face sculpt looks pretty good. So like I say, all of those are available for pre-order now at your favorite retailers. And then this is Preternia was the first one to dig this up. It is official descriptions of two new upcoming Masters of the Universe lines in 2026. Both of these are going to be based on the new movie, the upcoming live action movie that's coming in January. So the first one, which is called First Ones, coincidentally, is going to be the more kid-oriented line. Based on reading the description, it essentially sounds like it's kind of a continuation of Origins, only with movie-based characters. So, and there will be vehicles and play sets and all that jazz. The Chronicles line is supposed to be the collector-oriented line. However, not in keeping with Masterverse, unfortunately. These will be 5.5-inch figures. They're said to be high level of detail, 30 points of articulation. But again, I'm not a fan of the collector-oriented line being 5.5 inches. So we'll have to see how those look. Now, that's not to say that Origins... There's nothing I've seen other than rumors that like this is it for Masters of the Universe in 2026. Like Masterverse and Origins are coming to an end. Again, these are movie lines, which I think Mattel will definitely be pushing hard along with the movie itself next year. But that's not to say that Masterverse or Origins will be coming to an end. Um, though again, I would expect to see more of an emphasis on the movie stuff next year than non-movie stuff. All right, so that's your Masters of the Universe update. Just today we had some new WWE figure reveals. So we've got a new wave of let's see. From the Vault Series 7, Great Muta, X Pac, the Disciple, and Hollywood Hogan. These will be available at Ringside Collectibles. We have Elite Collection 124 with Lyra Valkyra, Chris Sabin, and Alex Shelley from the Machine Gun Tag Team, CM Punk, and Rey Mysterio and Jey Uso. For Ultimate Edition, a new Undertaker, Cody Rhodes, and AJ Styles. Those are available for pre-order now at places like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth. Defining Moments 26, Cody Rhodes and Penta. Those will also be available at Ringside Collectibles. Monday Night Wars, Series 10, Roddy Piper, Sid Vicious, China, Steve Blackman with the Cheesehead, and X-Pac. Those will be coming to Walmart here in the U.S. and Smythe overseas. And then also Monday Night Wars Ultimate Edition, Diamond Dallas Page, which will also be here Walmart exclusive. So here's a look at those. Diamond Dallas wearing his NWO gear. Here's Cody and Penta. Penta, who just recently got hurt. Looked like he hurt his arm. I think it was last week and during SmackDown. He was fighting Solo Sikoa for the last for the John Cena retirement match. Rey Mysterio wearing his LWO gear. Looks like he's going to be fighting Logan Paul here in the near future. Jey Uso with his Yeet shirt. CM Punk. From the Motor City Machine Guns. Lyra with was that the US Championship belt, I think, or was it the Intercontinental Women's it was the Women's Intercontinental. I get those two mixed up, but the Women's Intercontinental belt that she had briefly. Undertaker and AJ Styles. I saw rumors that AJ Styles is going to shave all his hair off once he retires, which I guess is his last year. He'll be retiring at the end of next year. At least so he says. X-Pac. Steve Blackman with his kendo sticks and cheese head. China. Sid Vicious. And then classic Roddy Piper. Though honestly, I don't remember him having a mustache at any point, but and then Hollywood Hogan. These are ringside collectible exclusives. The Disciple. Don't remember him. Six. I don't even remember the Great Muta joining India. I think, though, I think like everybody at one point joined the NWO. So those are your latest WWE offerings from Mattel. I will say I'm pretty excited. So I'm actually going to be going to see a live episode of Raw on the 15th in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And at the time that I got the tickets, I didn't actually realize that uh, they're doing for that one. They're doing where they're pre-recording the episode of SmackDown right after Raw. I guess because it's going into the holidays. So I actually will be at both Raw and SmackDown that week, and the seats are right there on the aisle, the entrance aisle, where you see the wrestlers come down to the ring. So you may actually get to catch me on television because I'll be right there, you know, at, on right there at the fence or whatever you want to call it of that entryway. And I'm going to be going with it's going to be me and Matt from Nerdzoic are going to check it out. So you might be able to catch both of us. And again, that's the December 15th episode of Raw, and then that Friday's SmackDown. How much on the NECA front? We did get a new Badlands Predator figure in his training armor. I've not seen this movie yet. Uh, it looked okay in the trailers and stuff. I actually not even sure if it got good. I think it got pretty good reviews, but I'll wait till it comes out on Disney Plus or home release. But that went up for pre-order from NECA 7-inch. That's pretty much it recently. I also just last night I got to see the new Tron Ares movie, and I actually didn't think that was too bad. There was some things I had issues with. I didn't like the fact that we didn't have Tron or Alan at all mentioned in the movie, but it wasn't too bad. But unfortunately, it instead of being like the third movie in a trilogy that kind of wraps things up, it was brought more questions than answers. And because the movie didn't do well at the box office, I don't think we're going to get another Tron movie. So I feel like we're just going to be left hanging with the threads from both the second and the third movie that will never truly be wrapped up. A lot of the McFarlane stuff that when originally went up for pre-order, like the Wonder Twins for the DC Super Friends, so that was available. You were able to actually get Jaina for a time, just a single release of her on Amazon. That sold out pretty quick. I think Zan is still a single release of Zan, but both Entertainment Earth and Amazon have these case assortment. So it's a case of 3 figures. You would have to get the um, the Bizarro Batman is one of the 3 figures. But if you're still needing the Wonder Twins, again, you can look at both Entertainment Earth or Amazon for that. And some of the other figures, like those recent digital collectible figures, the Batgirl, the Red Tornado, and the Blackfire, those are now available. Again, you can buy them as a case of 3. But some of these harder to get figures are starting to show up in online again in greater number. Now, yesterday McFarlane had a panel at that Brazil convention, and the only thing I believe that they really showed that was new, and thanks to McFarlane Brazil, they're on Instagram, so you can check them out. So I make sure I hadn't thrown up anything else. But the guy who covered the stream, the Hasbro portion of the panel, left after Hasbro, so we didn't get to see the McFarlane panel streamed. But we did get a look. I told you about this before, how we were going to be getting a Jack Nicholson inspired DC multiverse figure. It's part of the collector edition line. And funny enough, obviously, McFarlane, it's pretty clear McFarlane doesn't actually have the likeness rights for Jack Nicholson. So they're trying to make it as close to Jack Nicholson as possible without being Jack Nicholson. So they're, obviously trying to tightrope a fine line. But they don't even seem to have this figure listed as a movie figure. It's listed as, you can see here in the slide that they showed, it's with a bunch of comic book based figures. So I'm not sure, but I think they're basically trying to say this is a comic book Joker figure. Though, again, this is essentially the closest we're going to get from McFarlane for an 89 movie Joker figure to go along with the other 89, Michael Keaton Batman movie figures that McFarlane's been doing. So I think it looks better than I thought it was going to. It's, not in any way perfect, and that's assuming that's what the final figure looks like. But it's close enough that you can at least tell that that's supposed to be, Jack Nicholson. So I will probably end up getting this one just to add with the other movie figures, because I'm not sure anyone's going to give us a true Jack Nicholson Joker in this scale. Beast Kingdom is probably the closest, but that's an 8-inch figure. So, and then the other figures, Black Canary, Freddie Freeman, and the Vigilante. I was disappointed to see that it was the vintage version of Vigilante, the Western version. When I saw this, we had seen these listings pop up before, so we knew these figures were coming. But when I saw the Vigilante name, just the name, I thought it was going to be the modern Vigilante, which is what I would have been more interested in than this Western version. But there you go. Again, you can see pending licensing approval. I don't know when these are going to be released, but our first look at that, what is essentially the Jack Nicholson Joker that McFarlane is doing. Four Horsemen, their holiday figure, Obscura figure, went up for pre-order. Went up originally last weekend, and then they had a second offering today. Let me see if it's still available. So it is, if you want to get it. Just the figure itself, it's the Mouse King. Kind of an interesting take. Looks like actual, mice, which is interesting. But that is still available on the Store Horseman website if you're into those holiday themed figure Obscura figures that they do every year. Again, it is currently up on the Four Horsemen website. The initial offering last weekend sold out, and you can see you have the different heads. I guess you can have them all the heads attached, or you can just do single heads. So, like I say, it's definitely kind of an interesting figure, and that's the packaging. So, if that's one you want to add to your collection, then head over to Store Horseman now. Power Rangers, new Power Rangers series apparently coming to Disney Plus. And then, in not toy related news, but entertainment news, the big news today was that it looks like Netflix is going to be buying Warner Brothers. So there's been a lot of rumors and such here about it's been pretty clear that Warner Brothers was going to be sold to somebody. Potential buyers have been Netflix, Paramount Pictures. Now, even though the announcement that Netflix was going to be acquiring Warner Brothers was made today, keep in mind it's not 100% a done deal. It's going to have to be approved. I've already seen like Elizabeth Warren screaming monopoly. So it's going to have to be approved by the government essentially. And then, you can expect somebody like Paramount, who does not want to see Netflix getting their hands on Warner Brothers, doing everything they can to, block this merger from happening. So it's not a 100% done deal, but right now the two parties have come to an agreement. I'm not going to go into all that detail, but they have come into an agreement, and we'll see if they're able to push it through, and if Netflix is able to, acquire Warner Brothers, which would give them a lot of sway in, theatrical releases. Obviously, Netflix is already the number one streaming service out there, but this would really turn them into a juggernaut studio for both theatrical movies and streaming if this merger ends up going forward. Whether it's a lot of people, you're going to hear, I'm sure a lot of people are going to say, this is a great thing or this is a horrible thing, or I don't really know. Honestly, I am tired of theatrical releases. Like, I don't mind if a movie gets released in the movie theater, but I think movies should be released at home and the theater at the same time. I don't like when they try and force you to go to the theater. I also don't like the idea that, because I don't think a lot of people, most people I think are willing to wait for the movie to be released at home. So they're just not going to the movie theater. There's no longer this urge to have to run out opening day of a movie to go see it. Even like the bigger, tentpole movies like the Marvel movies and stuff. Used to be you had to run out opening night or, the preview night or whatever to see it, be the first to see it. But I think a lot of people have just come, ever since COVID, have just been like, yeah, I'll just wait a few weeks or whatever and watch it at home. And so, of course, the box office takes on these movies are not what they used to be, which then, everyone starts spinning as, oh, well, the movie's a complete failure. The movie's horrible because it didn't do well at the box office, yada, yada, yada. And I just think it's judging a movie by its box office take is an outdated model that I think Hollywood needs to come up with some type of new model, new revenue ways for the studios to make money that doesn't involve the box office, essentially, or at least where the box office is not as nearly important as it once was. Let's see what else we got. Some new UFC, static figures from McFarlane. Those went up for pre-order today as well. If you're into UFC. All right, let's go to GI Joe. So yesterday, well, first of all, if you're into the Hiya Toy stuff, the 1/18 scaled Hiya Toys, we've got a new Zartan figure. course, these are not offered at US based e-tailers, so you'll have to go to an overseas e-tailer or the secondary market like eBay to pick these up. But yesterday, finally, that Arctic Hiss, which is the first G.I. Joe classified made to pre-order offering exclusively on Hasbro Pulse, went up. Obviously, we've seen Hasbro do this with their Marvel Legend line. We've had four different made to pre-orders for Marvel Legends, but this is the first line outside of Marvel Legends where Hasbro's done the made to pre-order, and the first G.I. Joe classified. So big difference between the made to pre-order and a HasLab per se is there's not like this, it's got to sell a certain number for it to move forward. There is technically, they don't advertise what that is, but like if nobody bought this Hiss tank, and at the end of the pre-order window, it's a 30-day pre-order window, so technically you have until January 4th to pre-order this on Hasbro Pulse. And if like I say, if nobody like ended up like buying this, they would just cancel the pre-order. But it's not like a HasLab where they, say you've got to reach this certain number for this to move forward. So, and with all the Marvel Legend ones so far, at least, those all seem to have sold well enough that they've moved forward. Though we have not. Well, I was going to say, well, we got the Dragon Man. Everybody's gotten the Dragon Man. That was the first one from Marvel Legends. People overseas, like in the UK, have been getting the Sentinel, but those of us in the United States who got the second one, the Sentinel, we're still waiting for that to be delivered. And then this year we had the Mephisto, and then most recently we had the Apocalypse figure. But again, so this is live. Again, you have until January to pre-order this. And supposedly, once the pre-order window closes, they won't offer it again, though that's not entirely true because we did see them offer Dragon Man again at a later time. And I think it's probably if they end up with extras or something, then they'll end up probably selling those. But for the most part, the idea being is, once the pre-order window closes, then you would have to go to the secondary market to try and get it. Now, this is a repaint of the HasLab Hiss tank. It does not have the electronics. It is cheaper. It's $100 cheaper than the HasLab Hiss tank. This is $199.99. The HasLab Hiss tank was $300. It does come with a driver, a unique driver, which is kind of a mashup of the regular Hiss tank driver and a Cobra Snow Serpent. He's got that Hiss tank driver helmet, but then essentially the body of a Snow Serpent, and obviously the colors. You do get accessories that are unique to this that we didn't necessarily get with the regular HasLab. Another big difference is you don't have instead of the cannon at the top, you get Stinger type missiles, same type of missiles that came with the Stinger Jeep. So overall, it's pretty cool. I like the colors. I like the red canopy. I like the driver. It's just like I say, for me, I don't know if I have the space. And that's really the biggest factor for me. So I probably, if I get it, I probably will wait. I'll be like on the last day and decide to get it. But I'm still mulling it over in my head of whether I want to try and add this one to my collection. And here's some images from the Hasbro booth there in Brazil. Again, Aficionado dos Joes, which were the people who streamed the panel. I think they were the only ones to stream it. Everyone was, watching the same video yesterday. But they also took some booth images. Now, we had seen the Arctic Hiss. It was on display at San Diego. It was on display at New York Comic Con. So we had seen the hiss before. We just didn't know when exactly it was going to go up. And here's a look at the Snowcat, a new look at the Snowcat, this year's HasLab, which did get funded, which obviously the Hiss tank, Arctic Hiss tank is kind of made to go up against the Snowcat. And I did back, I at first I wasn't going to, but then I was like, what the hell? I always liked the Snowcat, so I did back that. Now, at the panel for G.I. Joe, besides launching the Arctic Hiss made to pre-order, they gave us a new teaser. So this is some kind of ski. When I first looked at this, the first thought I had was this is teasing Zartan's swamp skier. Now, I went back and have looked at, images of the original swamp skier. This ski does not match the skis used on the skier. So it's not like you can go and look at the original toy and say, oh, that's definitely a ski from the swamp skier. But, Hasbro sometimes, they make changes. They don't always just put out the exact same figure in a larger scale. So I still think this is quite possible, that this is the back ski, one of the back skis of Zartan's swamp skier. And it's black as opposed to green. They could decide they're going to make it black, or this could just be like a prototype that's not painted green yet. So my best guess here is, and I've looked at other Joe vehicles with skis, Cobra and Joe vehicles that incorporated skis, and nothing looks even remotely like this. The skis for the polar bear, I know some people were thinking maybe it was the polar bear, the smaller snow vehicle, the first snow vehicle that G.I. Joe got in the line, and it has skis in the front of it. But those are totally different looking skis, and they hold a missile on those skis. So I don't think this is for the polar bear. So like I say, I won't say 100%, but my best guess is this is, teasing uh, the Zartan swamp skier, which likely means we're going to get another Zartan with the ski, color change version again, maybe, all the features of Zartan in one figure, maybe finally, but we'll have to see. Of course, they could do something crazy and like give us the Ninja Zartan, the neon Zartan, which I think they said was coming, and stick a swamp skier with that one. That would be kind of interesting. But and then the other interesting piece of news, and the image in the video didn't turn out, but they gave a name reveal. This is just comic book art of the character Deep Six, which originally came with the shark vehicle, the underwater shark vehicle. I don't think they're planning on doing that vehicle, but maybe, I don't know. But I think probably this will probably be a deluxe figure, um, and done without the vehicle. So those were your GI Joe reveals from yesterday. One other quick thing I wanted to point out: in recent months, going back to New York Comic Con, they had thrown up another teaser, kind of like they did this week with that ski. And it's the same background that they use for that teaser this week with that ski, with this one. I have no idea what this is. First thing when I saw this teaser, I was like, that looks like something you'd put around, cattle or something, um, or an animal or something. So I won't say it's impossible that this teaser here that they started showing at New York Comic Con, they showed it off at some of the other recent conventions, and the teaser they gave us this week with that ski. I won't say it's impossible that they two could be related, but this definitely doesn't look like anything from Zartan's Swamp Skier. And again, I have absolutely no clue what this is supposed to be teasing. All right, let's jump over to Transformers. So we had a couple of new pre-orders today for Transformers, Onslaught of the Combaticons, and we got this week a look at Bruticus, the combined Bruticus. I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks better than the previous Bruticus that they did. So far, the only Combaticon that I've gotten is Vortex. Blast Off and Brawl I've not yet gotten. And then again, Onslaught just went up for pre-order today, and then they've released images of Swindle as well, but that did not go up for pre-order today. So Swindle is yet to go up for pre-order, but I suspect it will go up this month. He looks pretty good. Swindle was always kind of my favorite of the Combaticons. But so Onslaught, and then the other one that went up for pre-order today was Armada Sideways, the motorcycle. So good old Onslaught here is going to cost you $100. Price increase on those, unfortunately. I did pre-order this one today, just because I got to have my Combaticons and Bruticus, but that price tag definitely kind of sucks. I actually, somewhere in a box, I still have my original G1 Onslaught. Entertainment Earth put up both black background and white background images. So, but again, I do like how Bruticus is looking here. So, and then Sideways again, the motorcycle from Armada. I remember having the original one. I sold it off recently, but that one also went up for pre-order today. In other Transformer news this week, we had pre-order go up. I think it was yesterday, for either yesterday or the day before, but for another one of those Missing Link figures from Takara. This time the Delta Magnus. So I don't really remember what this is based on with these colors. Looks like he is promoting Pepsi or something. Like every time I see these colors, I think of Pepsi can, but essentially a repainted Ultra Magnus. So that's available for pre-order. That's going to cost you $180 if you decide to add that to your collection. And then talking about expensive items, we've got a new Robosen figure with Soundwave. So these are these transform themselves. This is what, the fifth one that they've done. They've done Optimus, Megatron, Bumblebee, and Grimlock. So this is our second Decepticon. I'm going to play the video here so you can see it in action. I'm going to mute the sound. It does actually have a Bluetooth speaker in it, so you can actually play music and stuff through it if you wanted to. I'm guessing the sound quality is not that great, but technically you can play whatever music you want through Soundwave. It's got lights. His eyes light up. His shoulder cannon lights up. And he, of course, again, self-transforms into his cassette deck. His cassette chest does open. There are no tapes included with this Soundwave. I don't know if they'll try and do cassette tapes somewhere down the road. That would be interesting if they made those able to self-transform. But right now, no cassettes for Soundwave. He talks to, they actually had Frank Welker do the voice, so it sounds like Soundwave from the cartoon. The thing I don't really like about these Robinson figures is you can't keep them in robot mode. They when you power them off, they automatically go back into their alt modes. So I would much rather display most of these, other than maybe Grimlock, I would much rather be able to display these in their robot modes, not their alternate modes. But there you go. So the price on this is $1,000. It went up for pre-order yesterday. And believe it or not, that's actually one of the cheaper Robinson figures. Bumblebee is a $1,300. Megatron's $1,500. Grimlock is $1,700. Prime is the cheapest one. That was the first one. So Prime was you can get for about $700. But none of these are cheap. In fact, like I say, Soundwave is kind of in the middle. Even though $1,000 is certainly not what I would consider cheap. I forget how tall these are. They're definitely taller than a regular Transformer, but I don't have the size dimensions. I don't think they're listed here. I will say, I think this is probably the coolest one that they've done, other than maybe Optimus. Optimus was pretty good. But I also, like I say, I don't like the fact that you can't keep them in their robot modes. And as far as like the self-transformation aspect of it, and I guess the $1,000 price is supposed to be an early bird. I guess it's supposed to go up in price to $1,400 if you wait. But I don't know. But yeah, the whole gimmick, I think it would be entertaining for like 5 minutes, and then it would start to get boring. And so then it would just sit on your shelf and again, stuck in the alt mode, and you probably would never do much with it again. So that's really kind of my biggest thing about these. As I said, I wish you could power them off and keep them in robot mode. Like if anyone from Robison's listening, that would be my biggest advice for these things. And he does have his cannon, and he'll do he'll do like fighting moves and stuff. And I think you can actually, if you have like all of the Robinson figures, they will actually kind of like fight each other, pretend to shoot at each other and stuff. So they do kind of interact with each other a little bit. So it's definitely a cool concept. It's a cool toy. If you've just got $1,000 you want to throw away, there's probably worse things you could spend it on if you're a toy collector. But I don't know. And like I say, out of the ones that they've done, I feel like this is probably the coolest one so far that they've done. So again, that went up for pre-order yesterday. And get a Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth. I'm not sure if Amazon has listed it yet, but I think they have carried some of these in the past. So that's your Transformer news. Now let's jump over to Star Wars. So we only had two new reveals, though. We had earlier in the week popping up on Amazon and still available there, I believe. Let me double check. Yes. This is an Amazon exclusive Black Series 2-pack featuring the Assault Trooper clone with the red markings, and then Battle Droid Officer from Battlefront 2 video game. So $56 for this set. Again, this is an Amazon exclusive, available for pre-order now. And then during the panel, we got to look at a new season 1 Mandalorian figure. So update on an updated Mandalorian body. They've done this version of Mandalorian before, but again, a better improved sculpt, better articulation, and all that jazz. This is a Target store exclusive. And actually, let me check and see, but Target actually had this right off the bat discounted. 17, they've gone back to regular price. So, but if you were able to pre-order this when it went up at 1 o'clock, it's out of stock as well. But it was basically like $17.41. The MSRP is $25, but Target was selling it, which is probably why it sold out, for just a little bit over $17. So I don't know if they'll get more in stock, or if if they do, it'll probably be back at full price. The other thing they revealed is a Walmart exclusive, a vintage collection 2-pack with Obi-Wan Kenobi and an airborne trooper from episode 3. Don't have a specific pre-order date on this, but is said to go up during the next Walmart Collector Con. So probably late January, February timeframe is when that will likely happen. While we're in the subjects of stuff, well, let's jump into Marvel. So the reveals and pre-orders that went up today: a new She-Hulk, Red She-Hulk, Marvel Legends She-Hulk on the newer She-Hulk body. So they've done Red She-Hulk before, but this is based on her original look, and again on just a better looking body. Has red striping in her hair, comes with 2 sides and 3 pairs of hands and 2 head sculpts, a Rage head sculpt and a normal head sculpt. So this is a fan channel available at places like Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth. Like I say, even if you have the previous Red She-Hulk, this one to me looks better. And the price on this one is $28, so not too bad. The other big reveal, was a new Lizard. So I use the term new somewhat loosely. This is essentially the Build-A-Figure Lizard, comic book based Lizard they did a couple years ago. It is the same figure. Really, the only difference is you get 2 new head sculpts. So you get this one, but honestly, this is the cooler head sculpt. It is based on, pretty clearly to me, Todd McFarlane's art. They actually said Eric Larson in the panel, but to me, this is Todd McFarlane's head sculpt. So essentially a Todd McFarlane Lizard, if you so are inclined. This is an Amazon exclusive. Again, the figure itself is the same figure as the Build-A-Figure. The only thing really different here is the 2 different head sculpts. Amazon exclusive, $40. It's a deluxe type figure, obviously, and still available. I think it said it sold out for a few minutes, but Amazon then had it back, so it is still available. It didn't really sell out. If you saw people saying it sold out, it's not. Third figure revealed, not really a new figure, but the reissue of the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man figure that they did for Spider-Man No Way Home. Though technically the original figure did not have the No Way Home title on it. It had Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think that had something to do with licensing between Sony and such. But this figure we've gotten before. You do not get the unmasked head sculpt. You just get the masked head sculpt. I think the paint applications are a little bit different, so a little bit brighter. It's in that blue packaging like we've seen with all these MCU reissue figures. So that is also available. You can get it at Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, and Amazon. Will be available at physical stores at some point as well. And then we got a fourth teaser. This they started teasing this whatever this figure is during New York Comic Con with the little yellow rockets. Then at MCM London, they showed us the little streamers that you could attach the rockets to, the flame, and then a rocket launcher they showed us at the Luca convention. And then finally at this CCXP convention in Brazil, they showed the helmet. So at this point, I think it is. Here's the thing, like this helmet it's not identical, but seems like pretty close to the Punisher Hulkbuster armor. So I'm just gonna go to Google and pull up an image so you can see it. Like UAI and Bolt Moon. So get a better image. So I'm gonna get a blown up image. So like I don't know how well you can see it here, but you can see these little rockets. They're not yellow, but they are shaped very similar to the ones that they were teasing with the figure. The helmet is not 100% to what, based on the artwork I've seen in the comics, but it's pretty close. The rocket launcher, you can see on the back there, that again, not 100%, but pretty close. So I've not, again, I won't say 100% certainty this is what they're teasing, but right now I have not seen anything else that comes as close to matching up with all the different teases that they have shown us. Now, Dwight, even yesterday, was still like, nobody's going to guess it. It's, and so, and, I'd seen guesses for that Punisher armor even before they showed us this helmet. But, so I don't know for sure, but that's right now the best guess that I have. I suspect they will reveal whatever this figure is during the live stream that they're supposed to be holding later this month. So we'll probably get the answer for certain then. But that's all your Marvel Legend news, and here's some booth images for the Lizard. Again, McFarlane head sculpt definitely to me with those teeth and everything. And I pre-ordered the Lizard figure because even though I have the build a figure, I'm just a sucker for like McFarlane style figures, and so I was like, I gotta have this one. So I'm still on the fence with the She-Hulk, Red She-Hulk. Again, I do think this looks better than the previous Red She-Hulk that they did, and I may end up picking this one up, but I did not pre-order it today. So, and then while we're on Marvel, Hot Toys released some images of a booth they have overseas, some event overseas. So there's a Galactus from the Fantastic Four movie. I think we've seen that before. Japan Spider-Man. Most of the stuff we'd seen before. Uh, nice guy Deadpool from Deadpool Wolverine. Another Iron Man. Human Torch from the Deadpool Wolverine movie. You know, the Chris Evans. Weapon X Wolverine from the Deadpool movie. You're into Hot Toys. A lot of interesting stuff coming. If you're into Metroid Prime 4, we have a new Samus figure, a Chogokin version. As electronics. That just went up for pre-order. You can get it at Big Bad Toy Store. That'll run you $290, and that's stands 8.26 inches tall. If you're wondering. One other thing I wanted to let you guys know, throw a shout out. YouTuber Unparalleled Universe has been running a Kickstarter. You may recall that he did a previous Kickstarter for his Odious figure. And so he's doing two different variant versions of Odious, soldier version and army fatigues, and a Western version. He launched the Kickstarter. I forget how long ago he launched it, but we're essentially in the final day of his Kickstarter. It is honestly, I'm not sure it's going to. These are going to fund. The minimum goal for these is 170,000, and right now, with less than 24 hours to go, he's only at 136, 623. So he's got. I mean, he's kind of close, but then again, he's got over $30,000 that he still needs to get, and it's not like a Hasbro HasLab where you'll see a huge influx of like overseas backers at the last minute. I mean, he may get a bump at the very end, but that it's going to be that much of a bump, I don't know. I will tell you, me personally, these figures don't do a lot for me. And honestly, I mean, if he was seeking my advice, I would have said, instead of doing variants of the character you've already done, you'd be better to start fleshing out new characters like a bad guy or something for Odious to fight. But, Wade Unparalleled Universe, I can tell you he's been hustling his ass off. I mean, I saw him in New York Comic Con. A guy literally flew out to New York for like a day to try and get some publicity for the figure during New York Comic Con. and he lives in California, so he flew from California to New York to be at New York Comic Con for like a day, and then went back to California. He was at Legion Con, I think, pushing the figures. He was obviously at San Diego, though. Again, he's local to somewhat local to San Diego because he lives in California. But he's not just sitting on his butt. He's really, like I say, for me personally, these figures don't do much, but you can really tell he is passionate about these figures. So unfortunately, and I'm not quite sure 100% why, but like Big Bad Toy Store, I guess, was going to carry these figures. In fact, they had them listed for like 2 minutes on their website a week or so ago, and then pulled them. And then I heard him briefly talking about something about how Big Bad Toy Store had decided not to carry these. Um, so again, I just wanted to give a shout out. I'm not telling you to back these unless you think this is something you really want to add to your collection. And I've said this before, you know, and this isn't against any individual creator, but I always, if money's an issue for you, I feel more safe when you can go through like a Big Bad Toy Store to buy a figure like this. And I know in recent weeks there's been some hubbub over the Fwoosh, and figures that they had done a Kickstarter for, and apparently were not able to deliver on, and have not like returned people's money. I have not been following it 100% close, so I only tracked some of that like a few weeks ago, and I don't know if anything's changed. And when I say Fwoosh, like I'm not talking about Robo per se, who worked for Fwoosh, but the guy who actually ran Fwoosh, I think, also operated Fwoosh Toys. Um, and the thing about an individual, person like Wade or any of these guys is, they don't have, they're not, they're passionate about the hobby, but they're kind of learning as they go. Um, and it doesn't take much for things to go south. Like I could speculate on what happened with Fwoosh, but I'm going to guess probably had something to do with, with the recent tariffs and all that stuff. And but if things start to go south, it doesn't take much for like to lose money on this stuff and then not be able to fulfill your obligation. And sadly, sometimes people, when that happens to them, their response is to just go quiet and and hope things settle. And the guy from Fwoosh, don't even think lives in the United States. Um, so there's a risk whenever you back something like this. I mean, no matter who it is, there's always a risk. Even like a Four Horsemen or something, there's always some risk. But my advice always is, if you can, go through a reputable retailer like a Big Bad Toy Store. So if something goes bad, you have much more likelihood that you will get your money. And like those particular, I don't even remember it was like Ninja's figures. I don't even remember the figures. I've never bought a Fwoosh figure. I don't follow them that closely. I think it was just Jay Hernandez who brought this up. So, and I've never spoken in any real way to the guy who runs Fwoosh Toys. I don't know if Robo has spoken out about this at all. Again, obviously he used to work with the Fwoosh people, and I think even help promote some of those figures. But I don't know what he knows or doesn't know, or what if he's even spoken out. But my point is, again, no matter who it is, if it's a small toy retailer or whatever, there's always going to be risk. If you want to just support these guys, which is kind of no different than if you did like a Patreon donation or whatever. I think that's cool. If you want to, if you're like, I want to support these small guys and really try and help them. But if things go south, I think you have to kind of be prepared that you may lose your money and you're probably not going to be able to get it back. And so if the money is the big important factor, then my advice is always go through a reputable retailer like a Big Bad Toy Store, who often does carry figures from these Kickstarters. They carried the first Odious figure. Again, I don't know the particulars for why they decided not to carry these figures, but but if money is a major concern for you, then that's always, wait till the figures get funded and a retailer carries it or whatever. Or like I say, if you just want to support the individual independent creator, go ahead, but just always, kind of keep in mind that it doesn't take a lot for something to go south. I don't think any of these guys set out to try and rip people off. I don't think, again, if those people that back the Fush figures never get their money back, I don't think that guy set out to rip people off. But if he lost money at the factories or something like that and was not able to recuperate that, then he probably just doesn't have a way to make people whole. I personally would at least come out and address the situation, though then there's legalities. If you admit that, somebody could try and sue you, I don't know. But it's probably why I don't try and make my own action figures. I've never really had a strong desire to do that. I don't like taking people's money and then having to deliver on something. I'd rather you have something to give you and you give me the money, like type thing. But I'm not a big fan of borrowing money. So that's just me, though. So I'm rambling here, but hopefully wait. If this does not get funded, you won't get discouraged. I mean, like I say, maybe you want to learn from this experience and go, maybe I need to approach things different. Like I say, my best advice would be give us something different than just variants of Odious this early in the line, and really try and expand. Give us the story of the. I mean, I know and I've talked to him some in the past about Odious, so I know he has like a story background for this character and stuff, which I think is great. But really focus on fleshing that out. Don't just like give us like some variants of the same character. Down the road you might do that, but maybe it's just a little too early for that. And then the other thing, anybody who's like thinking about like, I want to do my own action figures and stuff, there are other factors that you have to think about as well. First of all, this year there's been a lot of uncertainty with the economy, tariffs, factory, working with overseas factories has become more difficult, more expensive. And then there's also just an oversaturation element. There are so many Kickstarters out there. Back in the day when like the Four Horsemen started out, there wasn't like a ton of people doing action figure Kickstarters and stuff. And the Four Horsemen, they weren't just like guys getting into the business. The Four Horsemen worked in the toy industry, worked for other toy companies for years. Even when they started their own Four Horsemen studio, they were still, most of their income was coming from doing jobs for companies like Mattel. So, they had the knowledge, they had, they weren't relying their livelihoods and their income and stuff wasn't relying on the Kickstarter. And, they were kind of the first people on the ground floor of that type of thing. But as it's become more and more common, like I said, there's just what I would probably consider an oversaturation of action figure Kickstarters out there. And so that means it's going to become harder and harder and harder for you to really stand out and get people to decide to plop down money for something. So that's just my take. But again, I won't rule out. He's still got pretty much a day to go. So, he might be able to pull something out, and, he might hit the 170. We'll just have to see. And like I say, if you like the Odious characters and such, then definitely I recommend checking out the Kickstarter. So that was a long that was a long ramble for something that I had not intended to ramble about. But a couple of things that had just over the last several weeks I've been hearing, online, and just kind of wanted to address a little bit myself. Let's see. Mr. Allmind says he thinks Odious will reach the goal. It's like I say, I've seen stranger things happen. So yes, and Salome is was here, but she's now left. And no, she's not going to back the campaign. Salome is very stingy with her money, so that's a good point. Though, like in the case of the Flush, that Kickstarter funded, and so people did pay their money, and then obviously something didn't happen, and I have no idea what, but from what I understand, those people did not get their figures, and there's been no communication about what's going on with those figures. So there is risk, even if the Kickstarter funds, because if somebody makes a bad business decision, or the economy goes completely south, or the factory that they were dealing with closes up all of a sudden, or whatever, there's a million things that can go wrong with these types of things. And if you're not flush with money where you can basically handle the loss, if you basically just have the exact money that you need and then something goes south, then you can find yourself, up shit's creek without a paddle. And that's true with any kind of business endeavor. But that's why I say there is risk with those Kickstarters. And if money, like I say, you may just be like, if I lose my money, it's not that much money, and I'm fine with that. I want to support this creator, this individual creator. So no different than like if I was making a sizable donation in the form of a patron or something. But if you're like, if I don't get my figure and I lose my money, you probably aren't going to have a lot of recourse. And you know, like I say, there is some risk with that. Let's see. Rob says, not sure if mentioned, but Wade, Unparalleled Universe, noted that making Odious was a lot more expensive this time around, tariffs, which factored into the big. Yeah, and like I say, I have not sat there and hung on every word of Unparalleled Universe talking about this. I've picked up little bits and pieces. I watched a video of him on Instagram the other day when he was sitting in his car. So I don't know all the particulars, just like I don't know all the particulars of the whole Fush situation. Um, and I don't know the guy from Fush. I have no contacts with that guy. There would be no reason for that guy to talk to me in any way. I don't even think we ever promoted those figures. If we did, it was only because I know Big Bad Toy Store did carry those figures, and that's usually when it comes to a Kickstarter. And for me, there's a business aspect of it as well, because I get hit up with people all the time coming to me say, "Hey, can you promote my Kickstarter on your websites?" And my response to them generally is, if you want to buy advertising to promote the selling of your figures, just like any sponsor, just like a Big Bad Toy Store or anybody else, then I'll be happy to promote your Kickstarter for you. But it's not fair to the sponsors that pay me to promote that kind of thing to do it for free for you. So I generally, like, I did throw up a post for Wade here yesterday. Wade came to me during his first campaign and asked me to promote it, and I essentially told him I gave him one post for free, and I told him if he wanted me to promote that stuff in the future, then he would have to buy advertising, unless like one of our sponsors, like a Big Bad Toy Store, carries the figure. Then we will promote it through them because they are a paying sponsor, and we will promote, happy to promote the selling of a figure like that through Big Bad Toy Store. But for me, my business side, I'm not going to just, oh, there, I've turned many Kickstarters away saying, sorry, I wish you the best of luck, but you've got to buy advertising. And I think, if you're truly trying to create a business, a marketing budget is something you have to factor into when you're planning out your expenses and stuff. That, people are just going to freely advertise for you is not really a practical business model, in my opinion. So, um, Shartimus, he was a friend. I've worked with Shartimus when he did his Kickstarter. I gave him a few free plugs. But again, I told him the same thing. I was like, dude, if you want me to heavily promote your Kickstarter, you've got to buy advertising. And that's the advice I would give to anybody. If you're going to try and sell something, one of the things you need to factor in as your expense is a marketing budget that and I know a lot of people think, well, I'll just get free advertising on social media. And again, early days, you could get away with that. But as the market has become more and more saturated, and social media in its own right has deteriorated. And don't even get me started on that, because, you know, I dread going on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter where my feed is filled with primarily things I don't even follow. Like, I can't tell you how many like fake AI bullshit videos I've seen pop up in my social media feeds here recently. Like the other week, all these people passing around this fake bullshit footage of Avengers Doomsday, the X-Men in their X-Men outfits, which was clearly AI generated, but people were passing it around like, is this real? Is this really from the Avengers Doomsday movie? Wow, it looks so great. And it's like, give me a fucking break. And a lot of these people, they don't even care if it's fake. They still, because it gets them attention, it gets them likes, it gets them comments, will still pass that shit around, whether it's fake headlines, whether it's AI generated bullshit, anything for attention. And that's what social media has become. So it's become very toxic, it's become very bullshit. And I think, the days of getting a lot of free exposure on social media, I wouldn't put all my what's this phrase I'm thinking, all my eggs in one basket with that. So again, if you're truly trying to start a business where you want to sell something to people, a marketing budget is something that I think you have to factor in as an expense. All right, back to toys. John, Irish John. Oh, do we ever figure out why Facebook just randomly changed people's names? Anyway, it's just me, or does Devastator look stumpy? His legs, Devastator or Bruticus? The Devastator, I think, looks great. The Bruticus and some of the images I saw looked a little bit short, but um, but overall, like some of the booth, like they showed prototypes at the booth yesterday, and overall, I think it looks better than the previous Bruticus that we got, and it also stays together a lot better. That's really the biggest improvement with these latest combiners Hasbro's been doing in their previous ones, going all the way back to G1, is you can actually combine them, attach them, and they don't just fall apart when you look at them. Mr. Hallman, I hate social media too. I mean, I honestly, like sitting here talking to you guys and YouTube, like, if you're like, I don't even like to watch some people's videos, because then, especially if it's like at all political or along those lines, because then the algorithm goes, oh, you must want to see political videos, and then your feed starts getting filled up with that, all that kind of bullshit. So like sometimes I'll be like, oh well, I want to see what's going on, but then I'm like, oh, but if I click on this, then I can look forward to my feed being filled up with nothing but this kind of bullshit. So I'm very hesitant to even want to click on something. But YouTube generally, if I'm searching it out, you know, it's okay. But like I say, Facebook, and what annoys me with like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, well, not Twitter as much, but Facebook and Instagram in recent months is I hardly even see what people that I've chosen to follow or are friends with. I hardly even see their posts anymore. What I see is recommended things, or people I don't even follow. Now I will say, like I found myself watching a bunch of dog and cat videos. So I my feed does get filled with that, but like I get all these wrestling pages that I'd never even followed, but because I've talked about wrestling or something, or I watched a WWE video or something, I get all these these Facebook pages that post nothing but like rumors and stuff about wrestling, and so I get my feed gets filled up with that. Or if I look at something at all, again, political, if I look at then all of a sudden my feed is filled with that. And there are people that just like every day have to post something political, either for or against Trump or whatever. And, even if I like agree with what they're saying, when it pops up in my feed every day, day in and day out, it's like enough. And you can block them for a little while, or you can snooze them for a little while or whatever, but they come back, or something else that's very similar takes its place. um, and then again, just this idea that nobody seems to care about whether something's true or not. If it they don't really care if it's fake or not. If they think it's going to get them attention or likes, they'll retweet it or repost it, or post it themselves or whatever. And it's just, like I say, I honestly, if I didn't work online, if I didn't make my living online and such, I would delete my Facebook accounts in a heartbeat and never look back. I used to like Facebook because I could stay in touch with people that I went to high school with, or college, or things like that, that you really couldn't do before. But like I say, I barely even see those people's posts anymore because my feeds get filled up with such bullshit, that those platforms algorithms decide that they think I should see, because they want to try and keep me engaged on their platform. And so it just, like I say, I dread it almost every day, having to go on those platforms. Automaton, yeah, I have the problem on YouTube too. I haven't seen channels I follow in the feed for months and keep getting random shit. Yeah. I mean, that's how all these platforms work, because they tune in. They know what you are interested in by what you click on, what you look at. Even if you just like stop on something to read it for like 2 seconds, it can tell that shit. And so then it's like, oh well, this guy obviously he wants to see more political stuff, so let me then fill your feed with political stuff. And it's generally stuff that is made to enrage you, because if you're enraged, you're more likely to engage. And if you're more likely engaging, then you're more likely to come back and engage more with it. So it's the way these algorithms on these platforms work, to keep you engaged as much as possible so that you keep coming back, because that's how they make their money. um, William says, you're being kind of negative today. I think you need some new toys. You're 100. I do have some new toys though. I have like a pile of stuff that I need to open up. um, I have GI Joe Classified. I have like before I had to go to Florida for my dad and stuff. The Steeler and Short Fuse 2-pack showed up, which I've yet to open. I also got the new round with wetsuit, sci-fi, and mainframe recently arrived, so I have to open those. I've got some Masters of the Universe, Masterverse figures I haven't opened yet, with like Mosquito and what was the other one? not my, I want to keep wanting to say Modulok, but not Modulok, but slipping my mind. But one of those other Horde recent Masterverse figures. Now I'm going to Google it because that's pissing me off. I could also walk over and look at it, but it's easier. Mantenna. That's the one I was thinking. So I've got Mantenna and Mosquito that I haven't opened yet. I still haven't gotten my Anti-Eternia He-Man. That one, I don't know. I pre-ordered that one at the same time, but that one is not yet shipped. A couple of Transformers I got from Target, not Dirge, but Thrust and Sunstreaker. And I think that's it that I have to open. I gotten some other things that I bought that I kind of regretted. Like I got those Mortal Kombat figures from McFarlane, and I don't necessarily regret them because I'm like, oh, these figures suck, but I kind of regret it because I don't have a place to display them. I kind of felt like I had a place to display them, but it turns out I didn't. I don't really have enough space in that area to put them out. So I haven't opened them. I don't like opening something unless I know I have a spot to display. I don't know if any of you are that way, but like you get something and it's like, okay, where am I going to put it? And I don't want to open it until I know where I can put it. Because if I open it and I don't have a space to put it, then I'm going to end up losing the parts, or it's just going to sit over here somewhere or something. So I tend not to open something unless I know I have a spot to display it. And so sometimes I buy things and thinking I have a spot for it, and then I find out I don't, and so then I don't open it, and it kind of just goes on a shelf or a bin. But I am looking forward to opening those GI Joe figures, and I've gotten Transformers like G1 trans. Again, I always just collect G1, but I've really kind of been getting into the G1 stuff, the Studio Series stuff that Hasbro's been doing, and the Masterpiece stuff, even though we really haven't been getting any good Masterpiece. But I don't know if I told you guys this, but I ended up buying some third-party G1 figures from like season 1 of the cartoon that I figured we were never going to get, like Cliff Jumper and Mirage and Jazz. So I recently got some third-party versions of those to go on my Masterpiece shelf. Marvel Legends, I've kind of like I look at some of these figures, I'm like, these are really cool, but I have not. I also have Rachel from Excalibur and Farrell I got recently, so I definitely have spots for those on my X Force and my Excalibur shelf. So those I have to open too. But there's some like I talking about Marvel Legends, like where I'll buy them and then like I figure I don't have a place to display them, so I don't open them. Marvel Legends have kind of been falling more and more in that category for me. But yes, I do have some new toys. Hopefully, I will get around to opening them this weekend. I got the Touch Fool. I found Short Fuse better than Steeler. I could see that. I mean, definitely Steeler. I mean, Steeler honestly was never that exciting of a figure to begin with, but Steeler came with the Mobat tank. Steeler without a Mobat tank is kind of disappointing. I honestly was tempted to get the Ramen toy tank. Unfortunately, it sold out at Big Bad Toy Store. So, but since I'm not sure Hasbro will ever give us a Mobat, I was actually tempted to buy that one from Ramen Toys that dealt, you could do it as the Wolverine tank, which, CoverGirl's another one where, I wish we had a Wolverine tank for her to drive. Jay says third-party Transformers are the way to go. Dakar MP is pretty much dead. Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, I really held off. I don't like buying third-party, but when it comes to the Transformer masterpiece, I'm like, yeah, I wanted to complete my G1 season, what I call it's my season 1 shelf. So all the Autobots and Decepticons, and I have one dedicated to Decepticons and I have one dedicated to Autobots. So like if you go back to the original G1 cartoon and you watch like the first, 3-part episode in that first season, I wanted all those Transformers from those episodes in masterpiece form. And so on the Autobot side, and I have like some of the recent mini Autobots, like Gears, like they did a masterpiece Bumblebee, so I have that one. But like I've been using some of the more recent Hasbro ones that fit in pretty well with the masterpiece for like the mini bot. So like the recent Brawn, the recent I have the newest wind charger. Like I have a wind charger, but it's too small. So the new one that they just went up for pre-order a few weeks ago, that I think is going to scale pretty good with the masterpiece. So I've got that one on pre-order. I've got Gears. I've got the recent Gears, which fits in well. Huffer. So a lot of those I've been able to basically use the recent Hasbro, regular line figures that work well with the masterpiece. And Wind Charger is the last one I'm waiting for because, like I say, the Wind Charger that they did before that I have up there on that shelf is just too small. It does not scale well with the other figures. But Mirage and Jazz were the two main characters that I was missing, and just they were never going to do and Cliff Jumper was the other one because they did a Cliff Jumper, but I didn't, again, it was a little too small, and I actually didn't think it looked very much like the original G1 Cliff Jumper. So I ended up getting a third party Cliff Jumper that I've been pretty happy with. And of course, you have to get the decals. Like you had to go to Repo Labels and get the Autobot and Decepticon decals because you can't have, Transformers without Autobot and Decepticon symbols on them. And then on the Decepticon side, I got Reflector a while ago because there was just no way they were ever going to give us a masterpiece Reflector figure. So on the Decepticon side for the G1 season 1 characters, I have third party Reflector. And then I've also got shelves dedicated to like the later series. Now I don't count, and if you're not in Transformers, I'm sorry, but this is probably boring to you. But like I don't count. Like obviously we got a masterpiece Grimlock for the Dinobots. We're never going to get the rest of the Dinobots in masterpiece form, and I don't think I'm going to go to third party for those because I don't really have the space. And so I'm fine with just Grimlock. Same thing with like Constructicons and Insecticons. I don't think I'm going to ever go and do third party masterpiece of those guys. But like I had to have obviously Starscream, Skywarp, Soundwave, which of course they have done official masterpiece versions of. But then like you go to like the next season and you get like Dirge, Ramjet, Thunder, or Thrust, which again they've done official masterpiece ones of, but I'm trying to think who were, but like, and I'm undecided whether I'm going to go with a masterpiece, a third party masterpiece for ones like the triple changers like Astro Train and Blitzwing on the Decepticon side. Perceptor, I think we need for masterpiece scale. Hasbro did a pretty large blaster that works well with masterpiece. So I have a blaster. So anyway, sorry for getting way rambling off on Transformers, but those have been something that have just recently been much more interesting to me. And I have always Transformers, G.I. Joe were like my first two, and Star Wars, of course, But honestly, Star Wars is just, I have just not been infatuated with Star Wars figures for a long time now. And I barely buy any Star Wars figures anymore. I don't know if my passion for Star Wars figures will ever be rekindled, but for right now, my interest in Star Wars figures are an all-time low. But Transformers and GI Joe, I definitely have been interested in. Thundercats, I'm disappointed that Super 7 is not really doing much in the way of Ultimate Thundercats, because I really want, like, I'm really sad that I don't think we'll ever get like a Ultimate Edition Driller figure. I did just get Safari Joe, my Ultimate Safari. That's another one I have to open. So Safari Joe for Thundercats, and I love the Cat Slayer. I mean, it was expensive. I ended up paying more because I didn't buy it when it first went up. I bought it through Big Bad Toy Store. So I paid a little bit more, but it's an awesome display piece. And I don't regret getting that at all. But I don't think we're going to get much more in the way of Ultimate Thundercat figures from Super 7 in the future. But yeah, so in Marvel, like I say, Marvel's kind of up and down. I definitely and Marvel is about space more than anything. Like I really have been digging the Marvel versus the Gamerverse Marvel figures, because obviously I have the arcade games and stuff. So I love being able to display both the Jada Toy Street Fighter figures and the Marvel video game figures back there. But it's getting a little crowded back there, so I only have so much more room that I can allocate for that kind of stuff. He-Man, again, I the origin stuff I had started out collecting, but I kind of stopped a while ago. But I've definitely been continuing to do Masterverse. I don't think I'm going to get into the new movie line stuff. I mean, maybe once I see the movie, I'll think differently. But right now, I am not that interested in that. But William, that's a shame. I think the quality of Black Series is all. I don't disagree with you on that. Um, I don't know. It's probably because the the shows and the movies have just not excited me that much. I haven't hated them, but I'm not like, even like this upcoming Mandalorian movie right now. I've not seen anything that's got me super excited. I hope it's going to be good, but I don't know. And because most of the Star Wars stuff, and some of this is with Marvel too, it's like, yeah, we keep getting better versions of the same characters, but it gets to a point where it's like, I don't, I have like 50 of these characters. I don't need another one, even if it's a little bit better than the previous one. Um, and that to me creates some burnout. Um, and like I say, that happens with both Marvel and Star Wars, where like, we just keep getting the same characters over and over again. Yes, they are improved, but only to a certain extent. And it gets to a point where it's like, is it really worth, especially as the prices go up and stuff? It's like, do I really need to spend the money on yet another Wolverine or another, whatever character that they've done 50 million times? Automa, will Super 7 continue Thundercats Ultimate? Seems like they are phasing. Yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, certainly they have not said that they are discontinuing Ultimates, but Super 7 seems to be moving away from things like Ultimates in general, probably because of increased prices and things like that. And so these days, Super Seven's focus is very much seems to be on like reaction stuff and the cheaper stuff, which just to me personally doesn't hold my interest very much. So um, that's not to say that they couldn't shift back to doing Ultimates more. I mean, we did just get a wave of Thundercats. It was only, they only did 2 of the 3 that originally were supposed to be in the wave, but we did get a wave of Thundercats recently that went up for pre-order. They just weren't. It was another Lion-O and then the Red Eye guy, which just not that exciting to me. There are definitely some Thundercats characters like Driller that I would like to see done, but also at the same time, I mean, even if Thundercats ends tomorrow, Super 7 gave us far more characters than any other company, whether Mattel or Bandai or whatever. They completed the core team, they completed the core bad guys, they gave us some cool stuff. So even if Thundercats truly like ends tomorrow, I would still say Super 7 did a really good job with that line. But there are definitely a few characters out there that I hope that maybe they'll squeeze out before they truly completely wind the line down. Hanzo says, I prefer when Black Series does the gaming greats and expanded universe characters. And see, like the games don't do a lot for me. The expanded universe, there was a time when that would have interested me more. But again, I don't know. I just have not. I, there's not one thing I can pin on it. Just like I say, I look at the Star Wars stuff, and some of the recent, like the Obi-Wan Kenobi, the recent episode or prequel figures that they've been doing. Those are really nice and improved upon the ones that they had done previously. But if I don't know if Disney can revitalize Star Wars to a point that gets me excited about it again. And I also acknowledge, like, some people, oh well, Disney just sucks or whatever. But I also acknowledge that I'm not the only person out there, that there are other people with other interests. And so what appeals to me, which goes back to the original Star Wars from the 70s and 80s, may not appeal to kids today or teenagers today or whatever demographic that you're trying to reach. So I kind of view Star Trek as the same way. I don't find myself very excited for the recent Star Trek shows and stuff that we've gotten, other than Star Trek Picard season 3, which I really loved. But again, that was basically a throwback to the Star Trek that we got in the 90s and stuff, 80s and 90s. So I don't want to hate on the new Star Trek stuff, because I understand that even though it doesn't appeal to me that much, it might appeal to others, younger people and stuff. But at the same time, it's just not something that's real. I watch it, but like I watch it once. Like I can't tell you how many times I've watched, old Star Trek Deep Space Nine, or even the original series from the 60s and stuff, over the years. But the newer Star Trek stuff, I'll watch once, but probably will never go back and rewatch it again. Because it just doesn't hold my attention enough. And Star Wars has kind of become the same way. I'll watch most of those shows that they've been putting out once, but it's not like the original Star Wars movies where I can go back and watch those over and over and over again, and have over the years. Like I said, it just doesn't catch my fancy like it once did. But it's kind of like, just like things that appealed to my parents when I was a kid, probably are not going to, things that appeal to me are not going to appeal to, younger people as much. So I get that and understand that, time is passing me by, but Hanema says, I'm still bummed about Toxic Crusader Ultimates. I wish we got more of that. That was not something I ever really got into, but yeah, I understand. It's always a bummer when, a company starts to do something and then, like, obviously there wasn't the appeal that they were hoping for, and so, they move on to something else. Like, I feel like Mask, I know Loyal Subjects has been dealing with some quality control issues on their Mask stuff, but I don't really feel like that Mask stuff is going to last very long. I think Mask has always been a very small niche thing to begin with, and I would not expect to see a whole lot more in the way of that Mask stuff. But I know the people who are very passionate about Mask, would love to see that line continue on and, expand even. But I have a feeling that that's probably not going to happen. All right, well, it's 5 o'clock or almost 5 o'clock, so we've definitely gone over today. But like I say, it's I while social media has, like, something that I try and avoid more and more, this aspect of social media where I can come and talk to you guys and you guys can share your thoughts with me and stuff. That is something I definitely enjoy, and kind of makes all this shit worth doing, honestly. So, thank you guys for tuning in today. Like I say, as far as upcoming videos, it's probably going to be based on, what kind of news comes out. If there's enough news that comes out at a particular time, I try and stick with the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But if there's just not much news, then I kind of like, all right, well, I'll hold off. Like this week, I thought about doing a video on Wednesday, but then I was like, there's not a ton of things to talk about, and I knew there was going to be the Hasbro reveals and stuff, so I knew today there would definitely be a lot of stuff to talk about. So I was like, I'm just going to wait until Friday and do it. So we'll play it by ear. Definitely one of those days next week, I'm sure you will see me. And, like I say, we've got a Hasbro at some point here. And just my luck, like I said, I'm going to see Raw on the 15th, WWE Raw, which is, it's in Hershey, Pennsylvania, which is about a little over 2 hours from me. So it's not like, and I'm also going to see Nerdzoic, Matt, Big Nerdy's new store. He just recently opened up an actual store. So I'm going to go check that out that day as well. And then we're going to go, so I'm going to go in the morning to Pennsylvania, see Nerdzoic, check out his store and stuff. And then we're going to go catch the wrestling at night. But knowing Hasbro, they will schedule the Marvel Legend live stream probably on that day or something. But we'll have coverage either way, definitely. Don't worry. And of course, I'm sure some of you will just watch it straight from Hasbro's Pulse's YouTube channel. But that definitely is something to look forward to this month. And then I don't know if we'll get any other fan streams from Hasbro this month. Um, Hopefully we'll get some more GI Joe reveals in the fairly near future. But as we go into Christmas and the holidays and everything, it definitely news. November and December generally tend to be a pretty slow period for news. So it might be, my video schedule might be a little sporadic. I definitely am going to do some recording when I'm at Nerdzoic, give you guys a look at it and stuff. Um, you know, Nerdzoic is not a sponsor of the sites, but I one of the few e-tailers out there, new e-tailers. You know, Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, they've been around forever. But it's very hard for a toy retailer to really get a foothold in today's market. But if anyone can be successful like that, I feel like Matt Nerdzoic has that potential. So I'm excited to check out his new store, and I'll definitely be doing some filming of that to bring you guys here on YouTube at some point. All right, guys. So I'm going to leave it there. Have a great weekend. And then, like I say, I don't know if it'll be Monday, but either Monday, maybe it might be next Friday, something like that. But definitely sometime next week, you should see me back on here. And, you know, stay safe, be good, enjoy what toys you got. And I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching today's video. If you're new to the channel, think about subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. You can also think about becoming an action figure enthusiast channel member. There's a link in the video description below with more details on that. Check out all the names of everyone who's already joined, scrolling down at the bottom of your screen. And for the latest in action figure news, be sure to head over to toynewseye.com, marvelousnews.com, JediInsider.com, and TeeFormers.com. And remember, action figures are great!